Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of 15 Minutes of Flame. I'm Robert Phoenix, and we are honing in on the perfect sound, the perfect level as the music fades. In fact, this little intro is known as Fade into the distance. And how is everybody? This is the 15th or 16th of May, and it's a Tuesday. Broadcast to you live from South Central Texas. Austin, Texas, not far from LBJ, the LBJ Library downtown Austin near UT. Anyway, hey, there's a lot going on in the world today. Of course, there's always something going on in Trump land. The goal, the end game here, which is very interesting, is to try to impeach Donald Trump, or at the very least, create enough chaos so that the American people experience a sense of what? Disappointment, desolation, feelings of disempowerment, anxiety, all those feelings that make us question what the hell is going on and what happened to the good old days and all that stuff, right? Well, if you allow yourself to be carried along on the flotsam and jetsam of the distorted signal that's being broadcast 24/7, trust me, you will be. Because we cannot define ourselves by what's happening on the outside. However, by looking to the outside and deconstructing some events, we can get a better handle on what these people are up to, and this is what we try to do here every day. Today is no difference. The latest thing now that's happening is they want to really go full steam ahead with these charges that President Trump has shared highly classified information with Sergei Lavrov, who was in Washington last week. He is the Russian foreign minister and the Russian ambassador to the U.S. Now, the Washington Post went hard, they've been going hardcore. This is Jeff Bezos' newspaper, and they've been going after Trump hardcore since prior to Trump even being elected. And this is the latest. Now, this is what Tillerson has to say. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said in a statement earlier Monday that Trump discussed a broad range of subjects with Russian Foreign Ministry Sergei Lavrov and Russian Ambassador to the U.S. Sergei Kislyak. During President Trump's meeting with Foreign Minister Lavrov, a broad range of subjects were discussed, among which were common efforts and threats regarding counterterrorism. During that exchange, the nature of specific threats were discussed, but they did not discuss sources, methods, or military operations. Okay, let's be clear about this. First of all, everything is tapped and everything is wired, and the Russians know just about everything they need to know about what we're doing, okay? The Israelis know just about everything they need to know about what we're doing because the Israelis have tapped into the pipeline for just about every form of communication in this country, including the executive office. And what the Israelis do through their proxy companies like Verint and a number of others is they sell that they basically grab that information for the NSA and they give it back to the NSA. So it's getting siphoned off. So they know what's going on. There are no secrets. The Russians do the same thing. And they've been doing this for years. They've had listening posts. They've got people on the inside. And if you don't think there are people on the inside right now, inside the White House, and have been for a long time, let's go back to the last presidency with Barack Obama. Has anyone not seen the story about the guy who was doing business in Russia just after the the wall fell and Russia was trying to get back up on its feet. And this woman told this guy that basically the United States was going to have a black president, and they're responsible for it. And he's going to be Russian trained, Soviet trained through and through. Has anybody not read that? If anybody's a traitor, it's got, look at Obama. And I swear to God, every time I saw Obama with Medvedev, those guys were like two peas in a pod, okay? And they're right around the same age. Maybe Obama's a little bit older than Medvedev, but clearly they had some kind of a connection that was very personal, all right? I'm not saying that anything, happened, but they were close. If you have no life and you want to go into YouTube and look at some videos of Obama and Medvedev, just read the room, read the vibe. The guys are close. So this whole idea that there's intelligence and Trump is spilling it to the White House, and I'm sorry, to the Russians, is ludicrous. It's ludicrous because everybody knows everybody else's shit, and that's just the way it is. And this is really kind of a bigger story, to be honest with you, than Trump casually mentioning that maybe he might be bombing North Korea. So apparently, one of the things that that's going on in the White House is that Trump is pretty angry, and he's going to be looking to clean house. Now, I've read that he's considering axing Sean Spicer, considering axing Steve Bannon. Yeah, even Steve Bannon. If Bannon goes, he'll lose whatever kind of paleoconservative and slightly alt-right people that are hoping that Bannon somehow shines a light into the nationalist heart, the dark part of Donald Trump's heart, which retains a sense of nationalism versus globalism, which his daughter and his son-in-law are currently occupying. So one of the things that they're going to go after Trump now is that he's mentally ill, that he has early onset Alzheimer's, and they're going to try to remove him, okay? Now, I don't know what the backup plan here is, if it's going to be Mike Pence. I don't know what the game plan is going to be here, because Jared Kushner has got to stay embedded. And he is basically running intelligence to the Mossad 24/7, and he is part of a esoteric plan that is being run by Chabad Lubavitch and the Sabbatean occultists, and bringing on, quite possibly the end of times. The end of times. And Jared Kushner might just play the role of the Antichrist. People, my YouTube has said Donald Trump's the Antichrist. I don't believe Donald Trump is the Antichrist. I don't believe that at all. He does not come across as the Antichrist. Jared Kushner is the Antichrist material, if there ever was one, to be honest with you. So we've got Trump now, again, fighting for his political life. Even though we just had, a week's worth of testimony, one from Clapper, the head of the NSA, saying, no, there's no Russian connection here. Dianne Feinstein, no, there's no connection with the Russians. And but it won't die down. They're going to keep hammering this and hammering this and hammering this and hammering this and hammering this until finally somebody or something will crack. And Trump might be close to that cracking point. Remember, astrologically, Mars is coming up on his sun, and I'm going to tell you right now, if he feels cornered, if this is really what's going on, and if he feels cornered, and Mars is on that sun, we've got to be real real careful here, because he could do something that could all of a sudden be a game changer and being forced into having some kind of global conflagration. Now, his generals don't give a shit about what's going on with South Korea and their new guy who doesn't want war, who wants better relations with North Korea. They don't care. They're going to try to do a war with North Korea no matter what. Whether they're going to be successful, who knows? But remember, the end game here, the end goal is China. The world is looking at a form of dominance, geopolitical dominance. Think about this. I want you to just think about this for a second. There are people inside the Pentagon, inside the White House, that think that they can topple China and Russia and have a global hegemony. And for the United States to be the military, socioeconomic, and cultural plank of the New World Order. I don't think it's going to work, frankly, because the United States allies and NATO are being compromised every single day with the arrival of more and more refugees absolutely flooding Western Europe. At some point, what's going to happen to those countries? You're going to have people that are not going to want to fight. Because even if NATO is supposed to represent these nation states of Europe, if their morale is in the toilet, what are they going to fight for? And certainly you're not going to be able to get Somalians to fight in your NATO army. You're not going to be able to get Libyans to fight in your NATO army. It's not going to happen. But we're coming up here, with Trump's birthday, with this, or not even his birthday, before his birthday, with this Mars conjunction. It's happening pretty quickly. We've got 2 days from now. So keep your eye on what's happening in Washington. Things are getting hot. They're getting beyond chaotic, and this firing of Comey has set a domino effect in play, and we're going to see how it all goes down here. Hang on, boys and girls. It's going to get real interesting. Speaking of North Korea, they're trying to link the WannaCry virus to North Korea. How about that? This is the latest thing. So they're going to try to pin this thing on North Korea. This ransomware that I was talking about yesterday. So I'm going to just read this. This is from RT. And WannaCry ransomware shares code with North Korea-linked malware. Okay, so here we go. It says here the source for WannaCry ransomware has spread to 150 countries. Maybe Pyongyang or those trying to frame it. Security analysts say pointing to code similarities between the virus and a malware attributed to alleged hackers from North Korea. So here's your false flag. The speculation over North Korea connection arose Monday after the well-known Google security researcher Neil Mehta, M-E-H-T-A. How many times have they made a joke with his name about metadata? Probably too many. Revealed a resemblance between the code used in what is said to be an early version of WannaCry ransomware and that in a hacker tool attributed to the notorious Lazarus Group. Love this guy's tweet. Neil Mehta. His tweet is 9C7C7149387A1C79679A87DD1BA755 BC at 0x402560, comma 0x40F598. And it's just this long. What's really bizarre is that there are people out there that understand that shit. You got 212 loves. It's like, this is the world we're living in, man. You're like, hey, okay, great. Containing what might look like a random set of figures and letters to an outsider, accompanied by the hashtag WannaCrypt attribution, the post has immediately drawn attention of cybersecurity experts and has been since extensively shared, shedding light on the otherwise cryptic message. Kaspersky Lab explained in a blog post that Meta drew parallels between a WannaCry Cryptor sample from February 2017 and a Lazarus APT, Advanced Persistent Threat Group sample from February of 2015. And then another coder here named Kostin Rayu shared code between an early February 2017 WannaCry cryptor and a Lazarus group backdoor from 2015 as found by Neil Mehta. So labeling Mehta as a revelation, the most significant clue today regarding the origins of WannaCry, Kaspersky researchers at the same time acknowledge that the apparent use by the WannaCry attackers of the similar code is not enough to come to definitive conclusions about its origin, as there is a possibility of it being a false flag operation, and more international effort is necessary to unearth its roots. Maybe they could have left a passport, a North Korean passport, somewhere by Neil Mehta's office. What do you think? Would that have sealed the deal? Look, there's a North Korean passport here in Google. We've been infiltrated. So here we go. They're trying to bring this thing back to North Korea and say, oh, look at what North Korea is doing. They're posing the threats. I'm telling you, watch out for the power outage. We're being set up for the power outage. They're going to say that North Korea shut down the grid. They're laying the tracks here. And if we have, again, this power outage that takes place, and they can, look, go watch this movie, The Smartest Guys in the Room. It's a documentary about Enron, and these guys gamed the power grid. It's not that hard. It is not that hard. And all you have to do is get certain people in place at certain times, and they can be part of the whole deal and make significant amounts of money, not having to work again kind of money. And they can shut down this grid, or even have somebody embedded who's not even part of the government or not even part of the United States. I mean, it's easy to do. It's not that hard. We're being set up here. This whole thing with WannaCry is a setup, especially if they link it or try to link it to North Korea. If you want to read more about it, you can go to rt.com. I'm sure you'll be able to track this down. It'll be very interesting. Here's what Symantec has to say. It says, meanwhile, American security giant Symantec voiced a similar opinion in a statement Monday, saying it had discovered a code used in the malware that historically was unique to Lazarus tools. The company refused to speculate on North Korea's role in the attack. We have not yet been able to confirm the Lazarus tools deployed by WannaCry on these systems, it stressed. So they're kludging this, right? They're trying to, get a crowbar in your mind to think that North Korea might have had something to do with it, to create a sense of doubt. A doubt in the sense of the original story. Like, oh, maybe Korea did do it. North Korea did. Oh, boy, they're going to start hacking our accounts. They're going to hack into my savings account. They're going to hack into my pension. Go, just take them down. Take them out. I think we all know who's behind these things. All right. So we've got Trump on the hot seat. We've got Mars coming up on his sun. We've got this WannaCry software piece. Now, there's one more thing I want to talk about today. We've got about 9 minutes or so left in the show. And it's HR 1313. That's House Resolution 1313. You should really look this up. Okay, it's important. This is from naturalhealth365.com. Forced vaccines. New bill H.R. 1313 could demand you get a vaccination or lose your job. There's more to this 1313. We're going to get into this. Republican Congresswoman Virginia Foxx, that's two X's if you're keeping score at home, has introduced new legislation with an intention of forcing employers to require all workers to submit to a mandatory vaccine program or risk losing their job. House Resolution Bill H.R. 1313 is called the Preserving Employee Wellness Program Act, also known as PEWPA. That's a P-E-W-P-A. PEWPA. And its aim is to require employees to receive genetic screenings and mandatory vaccines, whether they like it or not. Genetic screenings. Now, I went to Virginia Fox's Wikipedia page because, I take those extra steps for you. I wanted to find out more about who she is. The whole thing with politics stinks to high heaven. I'm telling you right now. She tends to be on the conservative side. She has the unfortunate voting history when it comes to Hurricane Katrina. She was one of 11 members of Congress to vote against the $51 billion aid package to victims of Hurricane Katrina. Those are bad optics. Have you noticed people are using the word optics now a lot? I think it's interesting. Those are bad optics. Look, $51 billion, it's a lot of money. The problem with all the money that goes into something like Hurricane Katrina, which we all know was created, it was a created catastrophe, right? Totally created. They blew those levees. They stuck all those people in the Superdome. They turned them loose like, I hate to say it, like animals. There was no oversight inside the Superdome. It's horrific what went down during Katrina. They would drop off pallets of water and some food stuff, and I've heard that they dropped off alcohol and just let these people go, man. Like the National Guard would just drop the stuff off and leave. And for about 4 or 5 days, the Superdome became this, rung of hell. There were rapes, there were murders, there were people that died that fell off of the seats in the upper balcony and stuff at the Superdome. It was terrible. Terrible. And not only that, what did they do? They displaced a bunch of people from New Orleans, moved them around, moved them to places like Houston, and they just got rid of families that had generational properties who were never going to move out of those homes because their parents owned them and their parents' parents owned them. And the only way that you're going to get them out of their homes is if you blow a levee, flood an area, and get them to leave. And that's exactly what happened. And Katrina was manipulated. It was pure, simple weather manipulation with levees that have been blown, and specific levees. But they were going to get $51 billion. I understand why she wouldn't vote on it, but it looks bad, right? I mean, it looks really bad. It's a lot of money. And we know that when that money goes in certain directions, there's no oversight. There's none. This is why people want to become part of the government. This is why they want a government job. Number one, you can't get fired from a government job. It's very difficult. Number two, you're going to get a pension. And number three, if you're in the right position, you can deal with contractors, you can deal with businesses, you can get payoffs. It's the best kind of form of venal corruption that can be socialized and made to look like it's, just kind of part of the experience. It's socialized corruption. That's a great job if you can get it. Anyway, she voted against that. Some of the bills that she's sponsored are just ridiculous. The Electronic Pay Stub Act. The second bill sponsored by Fox and subsequently signed into law is the Electronic Pay Stub Act, which gives federal employees the choice of receiving their pay stubs electronically. This legislation is projected to save taxpayers millions of dollars. Studies have shown that it costs 10 times more to purchase and distribute paper pay stubs than it does to distribute electronic stubs. This bill was signed into law in October 2008. That's rocket science. I was the founder of the Electronic Pay Stub Act. We saved millions of dollars. And we saved millions of dollars. I saved you, our taxpayers, millions of dollars. The Troubled Asset Relief Program. Shortly after Congress approved the Troubled Asset Relief Program, Fox identified a provision in the law that allowed her to force consideration of a measure to deny the second $350 billion tranche of the TARP bailouts. On November 19th, she introduced H.J. Resolution 101, which met all the parliamentary requirements for consideration once the president requested the second tranche. In the following 111th Congress, she reintroduced the measure as H.J. Resolution 3, and shortly before leaving office, President Bush requested the second tranche, thereby activating the trigger, allowing her to commandeer the House floor. Although she was not a member of the majority party, her measure passed the House. 271-55. The act was never addressed in the Senate. I don't know. I don't think she stopped the tranche, but I like it. She was opposed to the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, she's in the health care debate. Fox said Republicans have a better solution that won't put the government in charge of people's health care. The plan is pro-life because it will not put seniors in a position of being put to death by their government. She later said we have more to fear from the potential of the Affordable Health Care Act passing than we do from any terrorist right now in any country. Well, I think she's right on there. So she's got some stuff she's right about. She's got some stuff she's not so right about. She's got some trivial sort of bills. She's a member of the Turkish American Caucus. Her son-in-law is a Turkish businessman, Mustafa Özdemir. That's interesting. So she's married into the Turkish mafia, or her daughter is married into the Turkish mafia. All right, here's what we really want to look at here. This is the big one: Preserving Employee Wellness Act. The Fox introduced this bill on March 2nd, 2017. The bill would eliminate the genetic privacy protections of the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2008 and allowed companies to require employees to undergo genetic testing or risk paying a penalty of thousands of dollars, and would let employers see that genetic and other health information. This is so dangerous. This is incredibly dangerous. This is like Brave New World dangerous. I mean, let's say, for instance, they're able to glean information from your genetics that you run a risk of some kind of illness or disorder, right? And then they can say, hey, look, did you know, by the way, that you've got a really high risk of heart disease here? We really, really think that you probably won't be a great candidate for us. Because we're looking at somebody long-term, and based on our genetic actuarials, you're probably good for maybe about another 5 to 7 years at your rate of living. And quite frankly, we're looking for somebody who can be a long-term fit, 15 to 20 years inside of our company. So based on your genetic profile, we're going to have to say no. And then, you know what? And they're going to be able to do that. They're going to be able to make conclusions based on what is going on inside of your DNA. And this is going to be one of the things that's going to become more pronounced and prevalent. Now, a lot of people, well, not a lot. There are people I know that have done the 23andMe and some of these DNA testing services, and on the surface they seem very benign. Well, they don't do anything with the information, blah, blah, blah. And look, it's kind of cool. We want to know about ourselves. We want to, there may be some, hidden parts of who we are that it would be great to know about. The problem is, though, number one, once that's done and they've got your genetics in their system, we don't know what they actually really do with that stuff. That's number one. Number two, it begins to foster this sense in our day-to-day world that tapping into the gene pool and looking at our genetics is easy and an everyday event, something that people should not be stressed out about and not freaked out about. It's called conditioning. 23andMe and the other services are about conditioning so that at some point here soon with 1313, you should look this up, HR 1313. This is the 115th Congress. It's got to be defeated. We need privacy. It's not just privacy, but where is this going to stop? Where is it going to stop? I'll tell you what will go down is that, and if you have seen Gattaca, this is where it's all headed. Because your children will be asked to take these genetic tests. It's, look, I'm on the outside. I'm a guy doing a, streaming broadcast and astrology, and I'm about as close to being on the fringe as possible. There's no way I'm ever going to enter back into the mainstream unless I'm absolutely, utterly forced to. I'm over 50, and probably, I'm not sure who would have me in that world anyway. And I don't look good in orange, so I'm not going to go show up at Home Depot. So it's not about me. It's about people that are coming up and our children and what they're going to have to go through. Because not only will they have to do this for their employers, but they'll do this because what'll happen is that there will be a group, and I swear to God, I can just see Jared Kushner's fingerprints all over this. Right? They're going to figure out what your kids are good at based on their DNA. And they'll have a whole set of occupations set up for them. Now, this is not too unlike having vocational testing, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes it can be quite helpful. But, and here's the big but, if it's mandatory, then guess what? It becomes a very untenable situation. Very untenable. So today, what did we learn in the 35 minutes that I've been doing a bit of a mini rant here? Well, we've learned that this whole thing with Trump is going to be accelerating. We know that Mars is coming up on his sun here very, very quickly in the next 2 days on the 17th. Actually, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow should be a big day. Circle tomorrow. We also know and learned today that they're trying to connect the WannaCry with North Korea, turn into a false flag. And we learned about HR 1313, which really should be at the forefront of your consciousness and awareness. And you may want to start to get politically involved and tell your representative that you do not want them to sponsor, you do not want them to vote in favor of this bill. That there are ethical concerns that are associated with this bill. Now, the other thing with Virginia Fox is she's from North Carolina, okay? And I'm willing to bet that there are a number of businesses in that research triangle that have gotten very friendly with her and helped her sponsor this bill, because who's going to benefit from this bill? Who is going to benefit from this bill? Is it going to be the employers? No. Who's going to benefit from this bill are going to be the companies that will run these tests. Because once they're ingrained in that system, then it can become ubiquitous. And think of the power that they'll have governing people's lives. And the money too. Sure to be pretty good money as well. So today, what did we bring to the table? We brought awareness to the table, which is literally food for thought. And we want to feed ourselves every single day with things that are good, wholesome, nutritious, organic, pure. Whether they're foodstuffs or whether they're people or thoughts or experiences, you want to be able to self-nurture so that your life is sustainable, regardless from any kind of technological insertion. And we know they're there 24/7. We are a beachhead for consciousness, awareness, and love every single moment of every single day. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes we're tested, but this is what's on our plate. So feed yourself something really nutritious today on every single level of your being, and become aware of this 1313. Go find out who your representative is. Get involved and say you don't like it. This is Robert Phoenix. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. This has been your 15 minutes of flame.